Welcome, everybody, to a GoldenDudez anticipated releases for the first month of 2020. My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
I'm Pat.
And for people who are new to this is where we pretty much talk about the games that are coming out in the month of, or in the coming month, and we're just going to talk about what we're anticipated for them. Pretty much, are we happy to see them? Are we excited? Are we kind of like we want to see a train wreck that's happened, like it happened with Fast and Furious Crossroads? So we just pretty much give our thoughts about the upcoming games, and our buddy Mike is going to start us off with a game that he's excited about.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready. I'm actually going to start with 2 games because I have 3 games. 2 of them I don't really care like that much for, to be totally honest with you. But I was planning on mentioning them, and then as I find out that Matt's not going to be here to talk about like his game, I was like, well, I'll talk about that one too. So I'm going to mention the original 2, and then I'll talk about the big one later. I'm going to start with a game called The Medium. So this one it's like a psychological horror game, and it looks really, really cool. Just from what I've seen from it, it's very like, it's psychological horror, right? So it's not like a Resident Evil type game where there's like monsters popping out and like you're shooting and killing. It's very puzzle oriented. So you're this girl that has these powers, and you're able to like manipulate the world you're in. So instead of like attacking the hostile forces, you more like, it seems like it's more of a mental type of game where like you take control of them or things around them and kind of use that to get through difficult and scary situations. And so it looks really interesting to me. It's an Xbox/PC game. So, you know, something that's kind of, I guess, somewhat unique to the console that never has exclusives. Though I guess it's PC too, so it really isn't exclusive to the console, but whatever. But no, it looks like an interesting game. Definitely something that's my style. I'm a huge fan of those like psychological horror type games, so definitely something that I'll be at least checking out. And you know, who knows? Maybe me and Travis will be playing that in October for Spooky Month at some point. And then the other game I wanted to quickly mention was Disgaea 6. For those of you that haven't heard of this, it's I guess it's kind of like a weeb game also. Nick has one of those later on. This is somewhat in that realm too. Disgaea 6 it's a tactical RPG type game, so similar in vein, I guess you could say, to Fire Emblem, though if you looked up Disgaea 6 or like any of the previous Disgaea games, they don't really look like Fire Emblem, but it's that same style where you move your character around on the board. They have all the stats like attack, defense, resistance, speed. They're able to move at differences. They have like fire resistance. So you're able to kind of like plan and build your team out a little bit. And they still move in those same squares. So if you've seen like Fire Emblem or even kind of like XCOM in a way, though I feel weird comparing this game to XCOM. But more that sense that you have like a certain amount of spaces you can move, you can kind of customize your characters a little bit. So it's a very, very interesting style game. The only difference is instead of, you know, warriors and dragons like Fire Emblem, it's, you know, like little anime girls and, you know, the stuff that like one of the classes is Bunny Overlord, if that tells you anything about this game. So it's lighthearted. It looks, I've never played one myself, but it actually looks like it has a lot of detail into it. I've heard that these games take like 30, 40 hours to beat. So, you know.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it's like a full-fledged thing. It doesn't seem like it would be, but, you know, hey, it's... I know there's a lot of love and care that goes into these games, so if you're interested in that tactical RPG style and, you know, you're cool with, you know, like that weird... I shouldn't say weird. That's kind of insulting, but you know what I mean. Like, off the wall, different from the norm. You know, low-key, I'd probably enjoy this game a lot myself. You know, definitely something worth checking out. It looks like fun if you're into that genre.
Yeah, tactical RPGs are really dangerous too. I mean, I still think one of the best descriptions I've heard of the recent Fire Emblem games is waifu chess.
Yep.
And I think that's actually fairly accurate when it comes down to it. But oh my gosh, when it comes down to like the relationship mechanics in those kinds of games and like the offsprings too and everything, you can just sink hours and hours into those games.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if it's that kind of game, I can see how they can be pretty lengthy in that vein. But I'm going to start off with my first game, and I'll save the other kind of game that's along that vein for later. The first game that I want to talk about is Cyber Shadow. And this was a game that got announced for the Switch a while back. Actually, I cannot remember if this was just coming to Switch or if it's already out. I think it's a full release, like late January. But Cyber Shadow, if anybody knows anything about old school NES games, they're gonna look at this game and just say, "Hey, Ninja Gaiden." That's pretty much what it is. But one of the things that I think could be a little bit of an overlooked fact is this is made by Yacht Club, and that's the same people who did Shovel Knight. Ooh. So pretty much Shovel Knight was kind of a spiritual successor to Mega Man in a way, and this is pretty much a spiritual successor to Ninja Gaiden. And for people who played Shovel Knight, they have almost unanimous praise for it. And as long as you're doing the exact same thing with Cyber Shadow, I think it's gonna be fine. Like, even things straight down to like the animation that you see when like if you remember the original Ninja Gaiden, like Ryu Hayabusa was like slashing his sword. That same kind of animation is shown everywhere in the trailer, which is so cool. So I'm really excited about this. Seems to also have that kind of like post-apocalyptic vibe to it as well. It has a pretty cool dash as well. Because like if you look at the original couple Ninja Gaiden games. The original couple Ninja Gaiden games are very limited in terms of movement options, and it seems like, especially with Metroidvanias nowadays, like you don't want to have that kind of limited movement, even if you can implement something like a dash to at least give you more of a freedom of to be able to move your character around. I think is a good thing. But either way, if you look at this game, the first thing that you're probably going to think if you know of Ninja Gaiden is that it's a callback to that game and wanting to pretty much bring that game back into its spotlight, which I think is very much deserved. And also, one of the things that is really nice about this is it does seem a little more forgiving for the enemy spawns for the Ninja Gaiden, because those old school NES games can be very unforgiving when it comes down to some of those enemy spawns where it's almost impossible for you not to get knocked off and die. And I think also in this one, I can't remember for sure, Mike might be able to correct me if he knows, I think the original Ninja Gaiden is like if you get hit once or twice, like you're pretty much almost dead. I think this also has a little bit more of a forgiving health meter, or maybe you can get upgrades. I don't know. All I know is Yacht Club already has a great record behind them, and they're also bringing a callback to an old school game that was already legendarily known. I think it's going to be a win-win. I want to get it. I mean, even though I never got too into like those kind of old school NES games, I still think it looks really, really fun.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I love Yacht Club, and I can't think, have they made anything else besides Shovel Knight? Is this their second thing, or do you know?
I think it's their second thing. We might add like a note here in the video just to see if they've done a game in between, but I believe the two main ones that they're at least known for is Shovel Knight and now Cyber Shadow.
Yeah, okay. Well, regardless, like, you know, the love and care that went into Shovel Knight, like with the DLC that was basically like free for the most part. You know, like they gave so much into that game, and you know, it was so cool like seeing how it all turned out. So, you know, it's exciting seeing a game come out that you're almost 99% sure is going to be made like with love from a smaller indie team that, you know, has a nice track record. So yeah, I'm excited for this.
Oh yeah. All right, Pat, what you got for us?
Okay, so my game, I only have one. And it's kind of a little bit of a niche game, and I'm very excited for it to come out. It's called Cyberpunk 2077.
The re-release for PS4 and Xbox One.
Very much looking forward to that getting re-released to PS4 and being able to work. No, I love how you broke in the middle of saying that too. No, my actual game. I only have one that I want to really talk about. And I don't have a whole lot to say other than I just love it, because I already know I love it. It's the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. And I don't remember specifically where it's releasing, but very excited to see this. Oh, it's releasing on all of the platforms. So that's
everything.
Wow, even Stadia, I didn't know that it even existed still. But it's going to be releasing. They really aren't really changing anything. No new content, nothing like that. It is going to release with any of the DLCs that were already released at the time, so that's nice. You won't have to buy DLC or anything. I mean, I don't really have too much to say. It's just it's a 2D like adventure fighter beat 'em up. It's kind of a little bit of everything, which is what I love about it. It's obviously this is the game / comic that inspired the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World with my God King Michael Cera. who was probably the best casted role in any movie ever, by the way. That's literally the best character they could ever make. Yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited to finally get to like really play through this. I never owned the original game when it first came out. On the other, I don't remember where it even came out. I think it was just like a PC game for a while. But yeah, I mean, like I never owned it. I had a friend who I used to play it with every once in a while, and it got me hooked on like the movie. So that's why I'm really excited to finally like sit down and play this game, because I probably watched that movie like 30 times at least.
It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I'm really excited to really like dive deep into the full story and see all the stuff that maybe the movie cut out, or you know, all that. So because it is based on like a comic and the game, so I'm just really excited to finally sit down and play through it. I'm guessing I'm not much of a 100%er, but I think this is going to be a game that I'm going to try to 100%.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, what's kind of funny about it is, especially with the co-op aspect that I think I saw when I was looking at this game earlier, was it gave me vibes of Castle Crashers in a way, where it's like, it kind of has that little team aspect. It's got its own unique art style too. And honestly, as long as it has those kinds of mechanics that are in there, I think it's just a recipe for success.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really go wrong, especially with like co-op beat 'em up kind of games. Like I remember like earlier, like I say earlier as in like 4 years ago, but like Broforce was another game that we enjoyed that was similar in that vein too. Where yeah, it wasn't like Castle Crashers really, but it's more of a just co-op game where you can mess around with your friends and like trash talk and whatnot. So I feel like it's kind of hard to mess those up, but also looking at the reviews too, the reviews have pretty glowing things to say about it. So it seems to be that they've done a great job of at least turning Scott Pilgrim into a game too. So I don't know, maybe a playthrough for the channel.
Oh.
There's a comment section if you want to tell us if you might want to see that. Just saying, it looks to be co-op.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just saying.
That could be fun. I would be down. I've actually played this game, and it's a lot of fun. I've never beaten it because I suck at beat 'em ups, but it is a great game. So I would be so down for something like that.
We got to look at the price when it comes out. Anyway.
Yep. All right, so I'll jump into my last game. This is more of an homage to Matt. May he rest in peace.
He's not dead though.
No, Matt is a huge fan of the Hitman games. He streamed them before, and he actually was talking about. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But he had something in mind for the channel, is all I'll say. And he was talking about maybe me and Travis like getting in on it and with him. And so we've had some ideas like with that. And so he's very invested in these games. And they're coming out with Hitman 3, which is super awesome. For those of you that don't know what Hitman is, it's funny. So I call it a sandbox game because that's like really what the game is known for. Basically what it is there's different locations that your main character, who's known as Agent 47, travels to. So there's a ton of new maps. They're all based on real locations around the world. And there's basically a target that you're trying to kill. Sometimes there's more than one. A lot of times there's like special incentives to do it a special way. And sometimes the game even has like events in it where it's like, hunt down Gary Busey, I remember was one of them at one point, which was absolutely hilarious. So it's always been kind of like that. Lately, they've pushed more toward the story. There's a group called Providence who's like kind of behind the scenes, like run the world, right? Like they're in control of like all kinds of government and stuff. And so like your character is like trying to kill those people, but for the most part, no one's ever cared about that. It's always been, no, just send me to Berlin so I can, kill some guy by throwing a teapot at his head while dressed as a waitress, right? Like, it's always just been about like the chaos that comes with the game. So it is cool, I guess, that they're trying to push more for a story. Even though the sandbox is where it's at. But the third one looks very similar to the other ones, at least from what I've seen in trailers and stuff. They do have like a couple of new locations coming to the game. There's like a couple cities in China. I saw Berlin on there. So just like a couple of different areas like that I think are going to be a lot of fun to go through. So, as we get closer, there's going to be a lot of like, I'm sure, new types of weapons. There's always like, the game is great in terms of being very free with how you go about doing the missions. So you never have to like just shoot someone in the head and call it a day. There's always such interesting and fun ways to go through everything, whether it's like disguising yourself or, like I said, like using just the most random weapons and stuff. There's one where like you set some guys, I don't remember what it is, to like explode on him while he's golfing. So like the golf course blows up. It's just like such weird random stuff. And so it's such a fun game. It's so fun to just mess around in and stuff. And it has a story if you're interested. And it seems like the story is getting more developed as the games go on. So if you're interested in like that chaotic, sandbox type game, you can't go wrong with it. Except for the fact that sometimes it's a bit of a money grub because it releases like in chapters and episodes. But from what I've heard, the third one doesn't seem like it's doing that. I could be wrong. But hopefully they're a little better because in the past they've been pretty money hungry with this game and how they release it. But we'll see. The gameplay's fun. Yeah.
Do you think they fixed the famous glitch from that game? Do you know the famous glitch from Hitman 2 and I think even Hitman 1? If you have, depending on the object, but if you throw an object, it's usually like a throwing knife or like something that's meant to kill, and the person like gets in a car or gets in a vehicle and starts to drive away, the thing that you throw is like literally like laser guided to their head, and it'll follow them. But it's not fast enough to catch the car, so it'll just keep following them until they stop.
Yeah.
That glitch sounds amazing.
I remember seeing that. I remember seeing, too, like, if the person's turning the corner, it will, like, turn the corner with them. It's so funny. Now that I hope so. That's one of those glitches you got to keep in, You can't take stuff like that out. We need that kind of stuff. We'll see. That's TBA.
Agreed. Yeah, TBA. All right, so then for our last game that we're going to be talking about, as Mike said before, it is quote-unquote a weeb game, very anime inspired, and that is, and I do not know if I'm pronouncing this 100% right, but Atelier Ryza 2, Lost Legends, and the Secret Fairy. So a little bit about the series.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this anime game right, but it's called Fortnite?
PUBG. Anyway, this is a Koei Tecmo game, and a little bit about the Atelier franchise is that from what I've been able to tell before is that all of the games up to that point would pretty much be introducing a new main character. So this one of the things that's a little bit different about this release is that it's giving the same focus to Ryza, which is the main character of Atelier Ryza. And I believe it's Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout was the first one in the game. But there's a couple things about this game. If you can tell by the art style alone that it's very, very inspired by Japanese anime, both in its looks, in a lot of the combat, and honestly, one of the things that I think is really good about these games too, that I really wanted to point out as a big plus, is the music. It has a very big, a very heavy string influence for like string instruments like the violin in there, and the way that they're kind of able to blend more of the string instruments into more of like the upbeat music that they have, a little bit more rockish of a vibe too. I think it sounds very good when blended together. Actually, funny story about this, and this might actually make me seem more like a weeb afterwards, but I actually used to have a playlist I would listen to at work. It was all extended music. And I was hearing a song. It was called Blue Reflection, and I was like, "Oh man, this is pretty catchy. I wonder what kind of song this is from, or what kind of game this is from," because it was just on a video game music playlist. I look at it, and I literally see, I think it's from Atelier Sophie, which was one of the earlier games. I was like, I cannot admit to liking this ever again. And now I'm doing it for a video, so it's some pretty good music, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, so some of the cool things about this, some of the cool things about these games is it's kind of what you'd kind of expect from a JRPG. Actually, sorry, I did want to point out this actually is the first time that one of the protagonists does have a second one, so this is like the first time it is a sequel. But it is kind of cool if you look at just the world in general and the characters. They're all very unique. It seems to be like a very fleshed out world. I believe it's turn-based combat. I can't remember for sure. One thing that this game did get a lot of crap for was censorship. Sony the PlayStation version of this game, for some reason, is getting a lot of flack for the amount that they're censoring this game. And I don't think the same censorship is actually going for the Switch. So what's kind of funny, and this is one of the only games I've seen this happen for, is that more people are saying that they're going to play this for inferior hardware due to Sony's censorship, which is very odd because these games are usually in pretty limited quantity too, which means that I think this game might sell out due to Sony censoring it, and also the fact that, like, Nintendo never makes enough copies of games.
Yeah.
So I do think this game is going to be sold out, but I don't think it's because it's going to sell millions of copies. I think it's going to sell like a couple thousand, and that's like for in the beginning, and that's mainly it. But yeah, it's a very interesting series because like it's kind of tough to describe. I don't know. It's an open. I think it's more of like an open world JRPG where you get to like meet new characters. I don't really know how to describe it. If you look at it on its base, it's pretty much a weeb game. But the series does have fantastic music. I will say that.
I had a friend that was so into these games, and I used to be such a dick to him. He used to always like try to be like, no, it's not just a weeb game. Like the combat, it's like, you know, you have to like strategize. And I just used to be like, weeb, and he used to be like, you just don't understand the game. And it was so funny. No, they do look interesting though. You know, and not that like my game list is not shameless. I play Kingdom Hearts and Hatsune Miku, so I am invested in that as well. But it actually does look fun. But like you said, it's very niche because it's not like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest or games like that where it's kind of like a normal style. It is so unique with like the character design and how it works that it's not very appealing to the general audience by any stretch of the imagination. You have to like really be into like you have to be like a hardcore JRPG and a hardcore like anime style fan to get into those types of games. So I don't know, maybe I'd like it, but you know, I don't know. It seems a bit too much for me to like really get enjoyment out of it, but for those people that are into that stuff, you know.
It's very over the top, especially when it comes to like its combat with like extra chain and all this other stuff. Like if you look at any of the combat that's happening for the game, like it is very over the top, and just by the art style alone, you can tell that it will alienate a lot of people. Which is, I think, one of the reasons why I kind of like the Ys series more, because Ys doesn't really go for that kind of. I think it's more fan servicey kind of characters, but I think Ys is a lot more tame when it comes down to it. Yeah. And I will say the combat for those games and the music as well. Ys also does have music that is very similar to the Ys series. I actually think I listened to it because I was listening to Sunshine Coastline, one of my favorite songs from Ys 8, and it actually popped up sequentially, so it makes sense that I like the same music.
Yeah.
But the combat is very, very unique in that way.
It is interesting.
So it is very interesting. So there you go. Me and Mike are partial weebs. Take that what you will.
I think, well, okay, let's be real. I think, honestly, I'm probably the larger weeb. I just don't talk about it.
True. Yeah.
Either way, I think that's it for games. Is there anything else you guys want to say before I wrap it up?
Galgun Returns comes out. Remember, that's the game where you shoot people and then they lose their pants. And do you remember that game?
They lose their pants?
Yeah, remember?
Let's buy it. Let's full 100% it. We're not doing anything on our channel until we play that game. That was the game
the Game Grumps played, where like you have this gun that makes people fall in love with you, and you shoot the girls and their pants fall off.
Oh.
Yeah, that is not a joke. It's called Galgun. I forgot what the other part of it's called, but yeah, it's interesting. Very.
Don't forget that the Master Chief collection of Five Nights at Freddy's comes out.
Oh, that's right.
God damn it. So pretty much this is not a big month.
No.
No, it is not.
But we actually do have a couple of games for sure that are happening in February that at least I know I really want to talk about. So hopefully you all enjoyed this anticipated releases of January 2021, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.
Adios.